Welcome to Not Factory Approved. I haven't said this for about 120 videos, so I thought maybe it's time I did. The purpose of this channel is to not necessarily show the best way of doing something, it's to show a way of doing something. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that I've learned as I go. So I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to try new things. And if you really can't stand to destroy something, then practice on something that you can destroy. And it's not a big deal. Otherwise, you'll gain lots of experience and you'll be satisfied with your results, or not, the more you practice. So keep practicing, don't be afraid. Well, here we have two horns, neither of them worked. So I fixed this one, and I'll show you how I did it. There's a common problem with horns. These are Ford horns, and I've done it before on GM horns. I have to take them apart, clean up the corrosion, free things up if need be, and then they start working often. So the usual problem is they've been sitting too long and they've got moisture in them, and something's either not making contact or something's stuck. So I'll drill out these rivets. I've already started. And I'll punch them out, pull them out, take it apart, show you what's in there. It's a pretty simple device. So I've drilled these out with roughly 1/4 inch, 5/16 drill bit, just to get the heads off them. Almost done, but now they're starting to spin. So I'm going to squish them against the vise and drill them out with this one that's, I don't know, what is that? It's not 3/16, and it's bigger than an 1/8, so there you go. 5/30 seconds maybe. Down, get in the right spot, helps. Change of hands there. Start pushing through. You don't have to go all the way through. Pulling the rest of the way with a side cutter. Oh, I'm pushing up in the drill. There we go. One here as well, which I'll have to get later. So get rid of those ones. I'm just using this machinist vise, or drill press vise. I don't really have to beat on it. If I did, I would use a proper bench vise. But I'm here. This is available. That one. Okay. Well, rather than pulling this out, bending the diaphragm like I did before, keep punching them out. Now I have to change tack here a bit. See if I can do this. There it is, almost out. Done. Now this comes off. We have a mylar film. The housing. There's no. First one I took apart had a bunch of rust flakes inside there. That one doesn't. Then we have this paper to protect things. We have to get rid of this rivet now. go, gone. I clean up the debris here, and then I'll show you. Sadly, it's the first time I've seen this. This one is so rusted that the diaphragm is holy, but not in a good way. And is also dinted. This is spring steel, so there's no way I can weld that and get it to work. And it's not going to work with that hole in it. But I'll show you the idea anyway. On this one, it's got this contact here that breaks. The solenoid's down in there. This is the solenoid's down in there. And this is the shaft that goes in the solenoid to act as a core. So as power is applied, pulls it in, breaks the contact, lets it out, so it vibrates back and forth. That's where the sound comes from. So what I did on the other one, the diaphragm was good on the other one. So I found this spot here that was corroded. Made sure the contacts were okay. These are kind of burnt as well, so they have to be cleaned. And then rotate this. This can go in any position. It's identical all the way around. So turn it 90 degrees, or 180, or 270 if you want to go that far. And then that will work. And then I put it back together with gasket silicone here, thin piece. Put that on, other thin piece of gasket goo, only because the gaskets all fell apart on this one. And then that goes on there. And if you're in the right position, or not, there we go. Oh yeah, here it is. You can see how ugly that one is too. Man, that rust is thick. Look at it. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick there, and less than 1/16 of an inch there. It's the same piece of metal. Anyway, that goes, so the core is together, gasket silicone around there, and this one there, and I just put it together with screws and nuts. Can use rivets again, but I don't think I have any long enough and big enough for that. So there it is. You put it back together, looks like this, and it works. And once this sets, I will tighten it up completely. Right now it's just close. It's got some tension on it, just enough to seat the gasket. And then the instructions on this one is after 24 hours you can tighten it up. And if you ever want to change the tone of the horn, it'll have a screw somewhere that adjusts the tension on the diaphragm, or the points, depending how they want to work it. That's the idea. Electric solenoid, diaphragm, and it's called a diaphragm horn for some reason. Hope that helps. So here's another horn. This one actually is repairable, or so it seems, but it's different than the other one. It has an insulator around this edge, not a conductor. That insulator pushes on this contact down in here. So that's what makes the diaphragm move up and down. It's just another way of doing it. This may be a high or a low horn. I'm not sure. It may be different than the other one in tone. But I did take apart one more horn that I had, and it is also complete garbage. Where have they been sitting? It's like it's underwater. Anyway, there it is. That's 2 down, but this one should be fixable. So onward and upward. I'm blowing my own horn. Nothing like a dad joke. Here be the horn in pieces. Fortunately, this is the low one, right there. I got a high and a low. I took sandpaper Old scrap of body sandpaper, 80 grit right here. Cleaned off most of the rust. I took it to the cheapo bench grinder with the wire brush. Got rid of the rest of it. Cleaned it up somewhat. Used a piece of 400 here. Cut a piece off of it. This one right here. Right down through the points. Ran it through 3 times. Each direction. And they were clean. So cleaned up everything. Now just use some gasket silicone. One gasket is still good. I could use that if I wanted to, but it's looking pretty old and stiff. So use some gasket silicone, put all that back together, clamp it, and then rivet it together tomorrow after the silicone is set. And we should have a working horn. One thing I should mention is to take care not to warp this. So that'll affect the tone of the horn. So I want to make sure that you don't overheat it or bend it too hard against the wire brush or cleaning it against the bench. Make sure it stays flat. Here's one horn with a sticky button. Needs a little tuning. Now just to show you that it works, I think there's 2 horns in there. Disconnect one of them, see what happens. There you go. 2 horns. They may not sound great, but I think that's because one of them has a slightly warped diaphragm. So they won't work if the diaphragms are all rusty, and they won't work if they're bent, unless you're willing to put up with an odd sounding horn, which I'm willing to. $75 to replace it. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or even notify, or any of the above, or all of the above. Thank you.